You guys, every so often I like to point out things to the squatties, because by saying it to you, by hearing myself say it to you, I have to reinforce that message to myself. And so I use those occasions so that we can all remember one very important thing. The Sussexes are going to be okay. Do you know it was back in 2012 that Prince Harry received an award, and the person that presented the award to him was Colin Powell? It says here in the Denver Post, the purpose of Harry's visit was to accept the Humanitarian Award from the Atlantic Council for his hard work with wounded service members. The Atlantic Council is one of those terribly important Washington think tanks busy promoting U.S. and European leadership on international issues and holding galas to recognize distinction in the field. This being Washington, you can't so much as swipe your subway card without bumping into somebody's undersecretary. It's easy to play hooky from events like this. They happen all the time. However, the Atlantic Council has been growing in visibility. It had U2's Bono 2 years ago and Vice President Joe Biden last year. And Harry is something of a get. It is an honor to be able to honor him. We thought it was an enormously positive message that a person of the highest privilege imaginable has chosen a career path in the military, said Fred Kemp, President and Chief Executive of the Atlantic Council. In an interview, Prince Harry has taken the lessons of the battlefield and developed philanthropic interests based on his personal experience. His Royal Highness' first visit to Washington began with an afternoon reception at the residence of the British Ambassador, Peter Westmacott, where the Prince met with teams of British and American athletes from the Warrior Games, a competitive Paralympic event for wounded or sick veterans. He strolled onto the lawn at 3:45, navy suit pinstripe, and stopped to speak at length with members of the military in uniform. "We had 16, he could be heard explaining to a few, which resulted in much laughter from the group. 16 what? 16 who? Impossible to tell. The non-military guests were too polite to eavesdrop, which the breeze made it difficult to do anyway. Even if they had tried, which they most certainly did, they occupied themselves by eating cucumber sandwiches while pretending to not stare." The ambassador, which gave the speech, the second Lady Jill Biden gave a speech honoring the sacrifice and contributions of the British and American soldiers. "I'm sinking," Jill Biden explained. After such a rain, it was probably inadvisable to wear heels. You know what? I could imagine Jill Biden saying that, actually. But anyway, a few hours after that meet and greet, Prince Harry got into a tuxedo. And then, of course, that's when they had this award presentation. So I don't know if that was the first time he met Colin Powell or not. But, I mean, it's just to see Colin Powell and Prince Harry on the same stage. You guys, Prince Harry is so well respected in the military community that I could only see some incredibly positive images in the future of Prince Harry and people that we haven't even conceived that he may have had some type of business or personal relationship. But it's exciting to think about. And I find it very reassuring because given the atmosphere that we're in right now, where there's just so much vitriol from the tabloid press, I'm just glad that Prince Harry is being remembered and considered by people that he has met in the past that are eager to spend time with him, to work with him, and to help promote some of the causes that he believes in. So, you guys, they're going to be okay. Don't worry. With all this stuff with Thomas Markle, forget about that. Thomas Markle is being likely paid to say the things that he's saying. And I am very resentful of the fact that this guy actually tries to mock Harry every chance that he gets. I mean, that's hurtful, and it makes me very angry. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not even going to tell you what he said, but this is happening. But let's always try to counter this negativity with things like remembering some of the people that the Sussexes have worked with in the past, and they will continue to work with in the future. And let me tell you one other thing that Colin Powell pointed out when he gave his speech. He said the average age has dropped 25 years at the dinner because of Captain's presence. And of course, when he says because of the Captain's presence, he was speaking of Prince Harry. We have a record number of single ladies. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that. It was the fact that because of Prince Harry's popularity, it actually made this event, I guess, it gave it a higher profile than if Prince Harry wasn't there. And then he went on to say, Colin Powell went on to say, in truth, the audience looks fairly distinguished, fairly salt and pepper, and the grown-ups clapped as hard as the young ones, or as it says here, the youngins, when the prince delivered his moving acceptance speech on behalf of the foundation of Prince William and Harry at the time, which assists wounded servicemen in regeneration into civilian life. Now, of course, we know that there were two princes' names on that foundation, but we all know who did the work. We've all had the idea who did the heavy lifting, and that, of course, was Prince Harry. And so right now you have two tired-looking 40-year-olds that actually look like they're 50-year-olds over there at KP, falling all over themselves, trying to do what comes at ease, almost at leisure for the Sussexes. And there's no competition. We're not competing. We are just thriving. Again, we are thriving. The Sussexes are thriving. Don't worry about it. And if they do bring their low-rated, unappealing, uninteresting award show here to the U.S. next year, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. I won't read Harry's entire speech for you, but the very humble Prince said, I obviously don't feel I've done enough to deserve this, he said. The audience obviously disagreed. So I wish I could have been there that night. I'm sure it was magic. But again, it was an event that was made that much better because Prince Harry was not only invited, but he was also presented an award. So if you guys remember Prince Harry's visits to Washington, then you know the amount of popularity that Prince Harry maintained every time he came to the U.S. So I'm going to say it one more time. I know I'm just going on and on, but don't worry about that reboot of the Andy Griffith Show. As you know, there's a guy that was on Good Morning Britain that looks like the love child of Otis the Wino and Aunt B. Don't worry about him. He's paid for his appearances, and one of these days that is going to really come back to bite the people who are orchestrating his movements. As a matter of fact, it already has. And of course, as you know, they took all that footage off of the internet, so we're not supposed to see it, even though everybody's seen it. So pay no attention. Otis the Wino's son or Aunt B's child, don't worry about him. He is just a bunch of hot air. That's it for now. Please like, subscribe, share, donate, etc. If you would like to make a donation and you don't know how, to help support this channel, you can go to the comment section where you can find links to the Patreon, the PayPal, and the Cash App. Thanks for watching Royal Sussex.